And when we make this squash, I was intimidated in making squash because I had no idea how in the world are you supposed to get into this thing. I mean, you hear it. I mean, it's rock hard. This is actually good. When you're trying to make any kind of squash, these larger gourds of squash, you want a squash that is firm, it doesn't have any bumps or things on it, but also you want the skin to have a color that's like a matte finish. If it's shiny, that usually means it's not ripe and it's not going to be really sweet or tasty when you get it. But if it's matte finish, kind of this dull shine, and it's firm, you're good to go. How are we going to get inside of this? Well, we're going to cut both ends of the squash and then we're going to peel it. So here are the tools that you're going to need. To make the butternut squash, you're going to need a nice knife, a nice cutting knife, a peeler, potato peeler. For what's going to go on it, really simple. Only 2 ingredients. That's why this is really cool. All you're going to need is some olive oil and some sugar. Now, most people, when they make it with sugar, they use brown sugar. But today we're going to use coconut sugar because it does essentially the same thing without the drawbacks of other regular processed sugars. So we got our olive oil and we got our sugar, coconut sugar. That's all you need. All right. We're going to get to that after we get into our squash. How do we get into it? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to cut off both ends of your squash. So you're going to take your knife, get a firm grip on there, and we're just going to saw right into one end, and then we're going to turn it over and we're going to saw back into the other. Now, I'm a lefty, so this is the side I prefer to cut with. But as you can see, this is so amazing. Look at this beautiful orange color inside of the squash. That is good because one of the reasons why you want to eat butternut squash is that they're very high in what are called carotenoids. And these are properties, nutrients, that normally we go without, but these are really high in them. So it's similar to what you have in a carrot, but obviously that much more. So another good thing when you're going to get into the squash with a peeler is that you'll sometimes see people just cut it straight in half and bake it as is. You can do that, but we want to be able to get into it and be able to enjoy it kind of piece by piece like we normally do with our potatoes or sweet potatoes. So that's why we're going to treat it like that. But first, we got to skin it. Well, with that aside, let's go ahead and get into our butternut squash. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut the bulb or the ball of the squash from this long stem. And if you have a knife that you can cut through and it's working, or something that may not work as well, a tip I do is, since I have one side of the knife left over, and if you just want to push down, I put a towel on the end of the blade, to protect my hand and give you some leverage protection. And we're just going to push down, or even just tap down, and I'm just walking down the gourd. So if you don't have the upper body strength to cut through or push through, just get on that other side and just tap it down, and there you go. So now what we've done is we've separated the bulb from the stem of our butternut squash. And now we want to go ahead and we want to cut that in half. So we're going to half this and we're going to half that. So I'm going to use our knife technique. So we're going to take our knife, take our towel, and we're just going to walk it down. Let me turn it this way so we can see. And we're just going to walk it down. Gentle tap, so it's no pushing, it's no stress. I'm just holding the knife and tapping it down. Cool trick, and makes it a lot easier. And that's going to get us on the inside of the squash. That's how it looks on the inside. And there you have the housing for all of the seeds inside of your butternut. So we're going to take this portion here, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to walk it down. This is a little bit taller, so it may not go flush straight down, but because we're dicing, it's okay. Now, if we were trying to go into a half and bake this in half, then it would really matter. But because we're not, it doesn't. All right. So here we go. And that's how it's going to look on the inside. So as far as how hard it is, it's dense. It's rock hard, just about. Very firm, again, just like what you would deal with a pumpkin. But now we've got our pieces here. Before we cut these out, we want to go ahead and scoop out our seeds. So I need to grab a spoon. That's one thing you'll need. In addition to your knives, you will need a spoon. I forgot to grab a spoon. So you can grab a teaspoon or one of your larger tablespoons, doesn't matter. And all we're going to do is we're going to go right here into the squash. Here we go. Now we're going to take our squash and we're just going to walk down lengthwise. And then we're going to go down again. Now this does take a little bit of arm strength. So if you want to go up, you can go up and just walk it down this way, or you can lay it down. Okay. For me, it's a little bit easier to just walk it down. Depends on your strength and how good your knife is. So now we've got them cut here. I'm going to go crosswise now. So I'm crossing over from this direction, going the other way. And now we're going to cube. And you want your cubes to be about 1/2 inch because you want it to be small enough to fit in your mouth in one bite. You don't want to be eating something like a banana. You want something more like a cube, like so. Now we've got our oven preheated at 400 degrees. That's where you want to be on the temp. And all you want to do now is add your oil and sugar. So let's add the oil first. For your average size gourd, you saw that was about like a 11 or 12 inch, 11 or 12 inch size gourd. Wash my hands here. And so what we want to do now is we want to go ahead and we want to add our oil. It'll be quite a bit. Some people may think it's too much. If you want to go a little bit lighter on the oil, that's fine, because the oil is not really for the flavor. It's just to make sure that everything gets roasted, gets baked. So we're going to put on six tablespoons of olive oil. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You will not need more, but like I said, if you want to cut back, use a little less, go up to about 4 tablespoons. Anything beyond that, what's going to happen is your squash are going to dry out, and you don't want them to be dried out. Not only will they be burnt, but they will be just dried out, and you don't want that flavor. So 6 tablespoons is ideal. And then you need 1/4 tablespoon, 1/4 cup of sugar. And instead of brown sugar, we're going to use coconut sugar. And yes, it looks just like, pretty much like your brown sugar, but because notice how it's falling into the dish, as opposed to when you're using brown sugar, why it packs. You know why brown sugar packs like that? It packs because it's not brown sugar. It's white sugar mixed with molasses. And so that molasses, as you know, slow as molasses, that molasses makes the white sugar stick together. And so that's why brown sugar packs the way it does, because it's white sugar plus molasses. And so we don't recommend it. We don't use it. It's not good for us, even though it might taste good to us. This is a better alternative. Instead of the brown sugar, just go with coconut sugar. So we've got our coconut sugar, we've got our oil, and now we're going to mix. But before I start mixing, I want to go ahead and get our cookie sheet ready, because you're going to need 1 cookie sheet, and we're going to line that with parchment paper. Parchment shaped paper is going to come in handy here because you're going to get some moisture coming from your squash. And so this is going to capture that and make sure that you don't have too much of a mess when you're all done. So now that we got our cookie sheet line, we're ready to get our hands dirty. Let's mix this up. So we're going to go ahead and go straight to the bowl. And all we're trying to do is get the oil acquainted with the brown coconut sugar and get them acquainted with the butternut squash. And so we want to get a nice even coating. If you see any dry sugar, you want to go ahead and grab it, get it mixed in there, because we want all of our sugar to be moist. Because what does that mean? That means that sugar is going to mix with the oil, and then that's what's going to happen, called caramelization. That's when you're melting that sugar around it, nice and toasty, and it's a beautiful thing to see, and it tastes good 2. So this is a good treat to have as an alternative to your sweet potatoes, or even if you're having sweet potatoes for Thanksgiving or your fall holiday eating. But again, a lot of people are harvesting their squash because it's fall. And so that's why these are really popular. And we wanted to share this recipe with you. I think we got everything all mixed in, hands nice and dirty. Now we're going to go ahead and get our cookie sheet. When we're getting our cookie sheet together, we want to put all of your squash on your cookie sheet, and you want it to be in a flat layer. So once we've got our pile here, we're going to go ahead and make it pretty, and we're going to layer it out. Remember, why are we layering flat? Because we don't want anything cooking on the bottom to steam what's on the top, and it makes it soft or soggy, and it takes longer to cook. So that was really important, like when we were making those French fries, those baked French fries that we made last Sabbath. This is how and why you want to make sure that when you're baking, keep your layers flat and you'll cook faster. All righty. So now we've got a beautiful layer of butternut squash ready to be baked. How do we do that? Well, you're going to bake these at 400 degrees for 40 minutes. Now, here's the deal, though. In order to make them nice and evenly cooked and evenly caramelized, you want to jump in there and make sure you check on them every 10 minutes of that 40 minutes. So that'd be, again, about 4 times. Me, I don't like jumping every 10 minutes, so I'll do it for like 10 minutes, set my timer, go in there, turn them around, and then I'll set it for 20 minutes. Then after 20 minutes, go in there, move them around, and then finally 10 minutes. So that way I'm kind of saving not much time, but a little bit of time, right? Instead of going in there 4 times, you can just go into the kitchen 3 times, but it's up to you. So 40 minutes, and every 10 minutes, go in there, check them, flip them around and move them. And you want to put it in the middle of that rack there. And in 40 minutes, by God's grace, you're going to have some amazing butternut squash.